Deep in the heart of Africa, there was a lush forest, a sanctuary of life and beauty. The trees stood tall and proud, their branches reaching for the sky. They provided shade for all the animals, creating a cool haven from the sun's heat. The air was alive with the sounds of bird song and the chatter of monkeys, a symphony of nature. A wide river flowed through the forest, giving life to everything it touched, nourishing the land and its creatures. This was the kingdom of Kazi, the lion, the undisputed ruler of this verdant realm. Kazi was a magnificent creature, his presence commanding respect and awe. He had a thick golden mane and piercing green eyes that seemed to see into the soul. He ruled with wisdom and strength, ensuring the balance of his domain. Kazi cared deeply for his forest and all its inhabitants, from the smallest insect to the largest elephant. He often patrolled his territory, making sure everything was as it should be, his keen eyes missing nothing. He greeted his subjects with a gentle rumble and a flick of his tail, a sign of his benevolent rule. One day, Kazi noticed something different. The air felt hotter, more oppressive. The leaves on the trees were beginning to wither, their vibrant green turning to a sickly brown. The once mighty river was shrinking, its waters receding and leaving dry, cracked earth behind. He saw animals he knew struggling to find food and water, their usual abundance now a desperate search. A deep unease settled in Kazi's heart, a foreboding sense that something was terribly wrong. He needed to understand what was happening, to find a way to save his beloved forest and its creatures. Kazi continued his patrols, but now a sense of urgency drove him. The forest, once a sanctuary of life and color, seemed to be wilting under an unseen weight. Every step he took was filled with a growing sense of dread. The once vibrant colors of the forest seemed to be fading. The lush greens and vibrant flowers were now dull and lifeless, as if the very essence of the forest was being drained away. The playful calls of the monkeys were replaced by anxious chatter. Their usual antics and games were nowhere to be seen, replaced by a palpable tension that hung in the air. Even the air, usually filled with the sweet scent of blossoms, now carried a dry, dusty smell. It was as if the forest itself was crying out for help, its breath turning arid and lifeless. He came across a group of gazelles huddled by a patch of dry grass. Their usual grace and elegance were overshadowed by a sense of desperation. Their coats, usually sleek and shiny, appeared dull and dusty. The once proud creatures now looked unkempt and weary, their spirits seemingly broken. They nibbled at the sparse vegetation, their eyes wide with worry. The scarcity of food was evident, and their anxious glances spoke volumes about their plight. Kazi felt a pang of sympathy for them. He had always seen himself as the protector of the forest, and seeing his fellow creatures in such distress weighed heavily on his heart. He had never seen his kingdom like this. The once thriving ecosystem was now a shadow of its former self, and the sense of helplessness was overwhelming. Continuing his patrol, Kazi found the watering hole where hippos usually wallowed, now reduced to a muddy puddle. The life-giving water was almost gone, leaving behind a barren, cracked earth. The hippos lay clustered together, their bodies covered in drying mud. They looked forlorn and defeated, their usual playful nature replaced by a somber stillness. Even they, with their tough hides, looked weary and distressed. The harsh conditions had taken their toll on every creature in the forest. Kazi knew he had to act. He couldn't stand by and watch his kingdom fall apart. The time for action was now, and he was determined to find a solution. He decided to seek the advice of Tano, the wisest baboon in the forest. Tano had always been a source of wisdom and guidance, and Kazi hoped he would have the answers they needed. Tano had seen countless seasons come and go. His knowledge of the forest was unparalleled, and his insights were invaluable. He held the knowledge of the forest deep within him. Every tree, every stream, every creature was a part of his vast understanding. Kazi knew Tano would be able to guide him. With a heart full of hope and determination, he approached the wise baboon, ready to do whatever it took to save his beloved forest. Kazi found Tano high in the canopy of a baobab tree. Tano was grooming a younger baboon, his wrinkled face etched with concern. Tano had always been a reliable advisor, his years granting him a unique understanding of the forest's rhythms. "Tano, old friend," Kazi began, his voice a low rumble, I come to you troubled. Our forest is changing, and not for the better." He described the withering plants, the shrinking river, and the distress of the animals. Tano listened intently, nodding slowly. "Ah, Kazi," he finally said, his voice heavy with wisdom. "The forest is out of balance. The rains have not come as they should. The earth is thirsty." "But why, Tano?" Kazi pressed. "What has caused this imbalance?" Tano sighed. "The reasons are complex, young Kazi. But there is a solution. We must seek the guidance of the Council of Elders." The Council of Elders, ancient and wise elephants, lived far away on the slopes of the sacred mountain. These majestic beings were the keepers of ancient knowledge and the guardians of the forest's secrets. It was a perilous journey, fraught with challenges. The path was treacherous, filled with steep cliffs, dense forests, and unpredictable weather. But Kazi knew he had to reach them. His heart was set on seeking their wisdom and guidance. The fate of the forest depended on it. The trees, the rivers, and all the creatures that called it home were counting on him. He announced his decision to the animals. His voice was steady, but the weight of his mission was evident. A ripple of anxiety ran through the gathering. The animals exchanged worried glances, understanding the gravity of the situation. The journey was long and dangerous. Every step forward was a test of endurance and courage, but they also knew the urgency of their situation. The forest was in peril and time was running out. And so, with a heavy heart but determined spirit, Kazi set off. His resolve was unshakable. Tano, ever loyal, accompanied him. The bond between them was strong, forged through countless adventures. They crossed parched plains, navigated treacherous ravines, and finally arrived at the foot of the sacred mountain. Each obstacle they overcame brought them closer to their goal. The journey had taken its toll, but Kazi knew the most important part was yet to come. His spirit remained unbroken. The climb was steep and arduous. Every muscle in their bodies ached, but they pressed on. The air grew thinner with every step. Breathing became a challenge, but their determination never wavered. But Kazi pushed on, driven by the hope he carried for his beloved forest. The vision of a thriving forest kept him going. Tano, despite his age, kept pace, his wisdom a source of strength for Kazi. Together they were unstoppable, a testament to the power of friendship and determination.